Smile Dog's story consists of a classic horror setup. An amateur writer visits the house of a lady who supposedly has a story from which he can borrow from. Rather than speak, however, the lady has locked herself up in her room, crying about nightmares and visions and various other problems. All of these center around a floppy disk she has been given that contains the image smile.jpg, which is smile.dog. Other cases of this have cropped up. Viewing this image incites insanity, and no copy of the exact image exists on the web, though likenesses of it do. The true image of smile.jpg is recognized due to the effect it has on the viewer. That is, they wind up dead attaching the file. That is, spreading the word. That's the only way to save oneself from smile.dog that appears in one's dreams, demanding to spread the word. Some say the original legend had began with an image of the devil. I first met in person with Mary E. in the summer of 2007. I had arranged with her husband of 15 years, Terrence, to see her for an interview. Mary had agreed since I was not a newsman but rather an amateur writer gathering information for a few early college assignments. We scheduled the interview for a particular weekend when I was in Chicago on unrelated business, but at the last moment Mary changed her mind and locked herself in the couple's bedroom, refusing to meet with me. For half an hour I sat with Terrence as we camped outside the bedroom door. I listened and taking notes while he attempted to calm his wife. Mary E. was a sysop for a small, Chicago-based bulletin board system in 1992 when she first encountered smile.jpg. Her life changed forever. Her and Terrence have only been married for 5 months. Mary was one of an estimated 400 people who saw the image that was posted on the hyperlink on the BBS, though she is the only one who has openly spoken about the experience. The rest have remained anonymous, or perhaps they are dead. In 2005, when I was only in 10th grade, smile.jpg was brought to my attention in my interest of web-based phenomena. Mary was the most often cited victim of what's sometimes referred to as smile.dog. What caught my interest, other than the obvious elements of the cyber legend, was a sheer lack of information, usually to the point that people don't even believe in it. This reaction in the viewer is one of the reasons that the smile.jpg is regarded with such a disbelief, though depending on who you ask, the reluctance of acknowledgement from smile.jpg's existence might be just as much out of fear as it is of disbelief. Neither smile.jpg nor smile.dog is mentioned anywhere in Wikipedia. Any attempt to create a page pertaining to smile.jpg is deleted by one of the encyclopedia's many admins. It is also said that in the middle to late 90s that smile.jpg circulated on Usenet and is an attachment on a chain email with the subject line, "Smile, God loves you." Yet despite the huge exposure these stunts would generate, there are very few people who would admit to experiencing any of them, and no trace of the file or any link has ever been discovered. Those who claim to have seen smile.jpg often weakly joke that they were far too busy to save a copy of the picture to their hard drive. However, all the alleged victims offer the same description of the photo, a dog-like creature, usually described as appearing similar to a Siberian husky, illuminated by the flash of a camera, sits in a dim room. The only background detail that is visible is a human hand extending from the darkness near the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but is usually described as beckoning. Of course, most attention is given to the dog. The muzzle of the beast is reputedly split into a wide grin, revealing 2 rows of very white, very straight, very sharp, very human-looking teeth. Dear Mr. L., I am incredibly sorry about my behavior last summer when you came to interview me. I hope you understand that it was none of yours fault, but rather my own problems that led me to act out as I did. I realize that I could have handled the situation better. However, I hope you will forgive me. At the time I was afraid. You see, for 15 years I have been haunted by smile.jpg. Smile Dog continues to come to me in my sleep every night. I know that it sounds silly, but it is true. There is ineffable quality about my dreams, my nightmares, that makes them completely unlike any real dreams I have ever had. I do not look, I do not move, I do not speak. I simply look ahead. The only thing ahead of me is the scene of that horrible picture. I see the beckoning hand and I see Smile Dog. It talks to me. It is not a dog, of course, though I am not quite sure what it really is. It tells me that it will leave me alone if only I do as it asks. All I must do, it says, is spread the word. That is how it phrases its demands, and I know exactly what it means. It wants me to show somebody else. And I could. The week after my incident, I received in the mail an envelope with no return address. Inside was only a floppy disk. Without having to check, I knew exactly what was on it. I thought for a long time about my options. I could show it to a stranger, a coworker. I could even show it to Terrence. As much as the idea disgusted me, and what would happen then? Well, if Smile Dog kept its word, I could sleep. Yet, if it lied, what would I do? And who was to say something worse could come for me if I did as the creature asked? So I did nothing for 15 years, though I kept the same disc hidden amongst my things. Every night for 15 years, Smile Dog has come to me in my sleep and demanded that I spread the word. For 15 years, I have stood strong. Though there have been hard times, many of my fellow victims on the BBS board, where I first encountered smile.jpg, stopped posting. I heard some of them committed suicide. Others remained completely silent, simply disappearing off the face of the web. They are the ones that I worry about. I sincerely hope that you will forgive me, Mr. L. But last summer when you contacted me and my husband about an interview, I was near the breaking point. I decided I was going to give you the floppy disk. I did not care if the Smile Dog was lying or not. I wanted it to see the end. You were a stranger, someone I had no connection with, and I felt you would not feel sorrow when you took the disc apart as your research and sealed your fate. Before you arrived, I realized what I was doing. I was plotting to ruin your life. I cannot stand the thought, and in fact I still cannot. I am ashamed, Mr. L. I hope this warning will dissuade you from further investigation of smile.jpg. You may, in time, encounter someone who is not afraid to follow Smile Dog's orders. Stop while you still can. Sincerely, Mary E. Terrence contacted me later that month with news that his wife had killed herself. He wept as he told me to listen to his wife's advice. He found the disc, he revealed and burned it until it was nothing but a stinking pile of blackened plastic. The part that most disturbed him, however, was that the disc had hissed as it melted, like some sort of animal had. He said, I will admit that I was a little uncertain about how to respond to this. At first I thought perhaps it was a joke. A check of several Chicago newspapers, however, provided that Mary E. was indeed dead. There was, of course, no mention of suicide in the article. I decided that for at least a time, I wouldn't try the subject of smile.jpg, especially since I had finals coming up at the end of May. But the world has odd ways of testing us. Almost a full year after I'd returned from my interview with Mary E., I received another email. Hello. I found your email address through a mailing list. Your profile said that you were interested in Smile Dog. I have seen it and it is not as bad as everyone says. I have sent it to you. Here, just spread the word. That final line chilled me to the bone. If I download the image, if I look at it, and if Mary turned out to be correct, if Smile Dog came to me in my dreams, demanding that I spread the word, what would I do? Would I live my life had Mary had, fighting against the urge to give in until I died? Or would I simply spread the word, eager to be put to rest? And if I chose a later route, how could I do it? Whom would I burden it to? If I went through my earlier investigations, to write a short article about smile.jpg. I decided I could attach it as evidence, and anyone who reads the article, anyone who took interest would be affected, even assuming that smile.jpg attached to this email was genius. Could I spread the word? Yes I could.